With all the controversy surrounding it, it appears that Disney's live-action Snow White remake is having trouble keeping up. Now, Rachel Zegler has had enough and is upset with South Park for making fun of her as the Disney princess, but there's more to that. For example, how much wokeness is too much, and where do you draw the line between being woke and being performative? You might be asking where the hate around the actress is coming from, and the spat with South Park is only the beginning. It appears like Disney is completely at fault, and now you have Rachel Zegler acting as a spokesperson. Let's go back a bit. So you're aware of Disney intends to make a live-action Snow White movie starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, but recent issues have raised doubts about the movie's box office prospects given the rise in social media use in recent years. Hollywood celebrities can no longer get away with their remarks. Actors and other creatives are scrutinized more than ever, and some even face repercussions for their previous posts or behavior. The first red flag in the case of this film was the release of some images showing Rachel Zegler Snow White and her 7 traveling companions. Disney insisted that the image was fake, but it caused a stir because it showed how a group of people with different heights, genders, and races were portrayed in the film instead of the 7 dwarves, a move that many condemned as being motivated by political wokeness. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, was fired from Volume 3 after his tweets from around 10 years ago were discovered. After the alleged set photo went viral, Rachel Zegler and Evil Queen star Gal Gadot gave an interview at D23 in which Zegler criticized the original story and disclosed that there would be significant story changes for the live-action adaptation. It appears that Disney decided to take this different approach to the original 7 dwarfs in order to avoid reinforcing stereotypes. In a different interview, the young actress also made fun of the plot, saying that Snow White's perspective would change significantly from hoping for true love to becoming the leader she knows she can't be.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Additionally, her perception of Prince Charming as the man who actually hunts her has sparked debate among fans, as evidenced in the original narrative. As the prince passed by on his horse, he heard Snow White singing and stalking. To make matters worse, the actress minimized the role of lead actor Andrew Burnap by joking that all of his sequences might be removed.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Oh, and he will portray Jonathan rather than Prince Charming, who will be more of a reluctant hero and less of a full-on prince. This is worse than Prince Charming. To the dismay of many, Zegler also revealed that she had never enjoyed the original Snow White as a child.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up.
Whoa! This is the most hateful thing Robert Patterson has ever shown us about Twilight.
When I read it, it seemed like it was a book that wasn't supposed to be published.
Since videos of Zegler's words have been going viral online, a number of people have accused her of pseudo-feminism. The 1937 film's director's son, David Hand, retaliated against Rachel Zegler by saying that Walt Disney and his father would strongly disagree with it. He also called the remake a disgrace and said that the woke direction was disrespectful to the original works of art. In fact, a lot of people were disappointed with Zegler's casting, which was already contentious given her Latin heritage. In the original story, Snow White is said to have skin as white as snow and is typically portrayed as being of Caucasian descent. Rachel defended the changes by stating that she believed they were necessary, but there has already been criticism of Disney's casting decisions. For example, when H. Bailey was cast as Ariel in the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, the show, which never backs down from a good controversy, seemed to have poked fun at Snow White in its Paramount Plus special Joining the Panderers. As a result, the characters Cartman, Stan Butters, and Kenny were swapped out for adult women of color, something that astute fans connected to the controversy surrounding Disney's live-action remake, and the episode's title Joining the Panderverse seemed to be a satirical jab at big Hollywood studios caving in with their casting choices. In reality, Disney has faced numerous challenges recently, including conservatives accusing the firm of pushing a liberal agenda, a number of its films underperforming or underperforming at the box office, and a perception by many that inclusion is being done merely for the sake of inclusion, as if it isn't done tastefully and they are merely trying to keep up with the times. According to the South Park synopsis, the episode revolves around Eric Cartman, a character who fears that a varied bunch of women have taken the place of all of his buddies and are voicing their complaints about the patriarchy.
I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman.
And Rachel isn't too pleased about it. Ty and Lannister are also aware that he has a separate problem with Snow White. Disney was criticized by Peter Dinklage for even trying to create a live-action Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs adaptation. You want to be considerate and inclusive when making casting decisions, yet you don't consider ableism. Does that make sense?
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of seven dwarves living in a cave. What the you did?
When Disney announced that the majority of the seven dwarves would be portrayed by actors who did not have any kind of dwarfism, many people were turned off and believed the studio was disparaging the dwarfism community. When Disney planned to recast the seven dwarves in Snow White, the company faced backlash on social media for being phony woke. The decision was likened to earlier live-action remakes. Because Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was first released in the 1930s, the filmmakers had to update it to a completely new level of modernity in comparison to other Disney productions. Yes, even though the original animated film received a fair amount of criticism, this was always going to enrage fans of the film. As previously reported, despite Snow White's March 2024 release date, the controversy surrounding the movie has grown out of control. The only information about Snow White that is currently known is that Rachel Zegler plays the lead role and that the classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs story will be updated to make sense for the 2020s. In addition, Disney is reportedly delaying the release in an effort to avoid a financial catastrophe. Disney has not yet released any trailers or plot elements for Snow White. Yes, it is said that the filmmakers are concerned that the movie won't do well at the box office, and that there won't be any opportunities for follow-ups for a full year after the initial release date. The studio claimed that it had rescheduled the film for March 2025, citing the SAG following a strike as the reason. However, an insider has disclosed that Disney is reportedly considering what not to do after creating a $300 million turkey, and that they're using Tom Hooper's critically acclaimed Cats as a model for what not to do. Imagine that Disney had to postpone Snow White as a result of all of this. If it doesn't make money at the box office, it could jeopardize their plans for any Snow White sequels or future remakes. On the other hand, in response to online trolls who criticized her decision to use a live-action remake, apparently, Rachel Zegler has gone on the defensive. She and her actor and singer Halle Bailey talked about their careers in a recent episode of the Actors on Actors series, and Rachel thanked everyone for the craziness, saying it made her feel like a solid Teflon. Bailey concurred with her, having encountered such backlash following her casting as Ariel in the Little Mermaid live-action adaptation.
I feel so thankful for those moments because it started to make me feel like solid Teflon.
Yes.
that nothing can hurt anymore.
Amen.
Because they've said the worst that can be.
Not to mention that Gal Gadot's decision to portray the evil queen in the Snow White remake drew criticism, and the actress has long been criticized for her support of Israel. Although Rachel Zegler is by no means the first to attack Disney princesses, her remarks opposing the call for a ceasefire in Gaza caused a lot of backlash, with many people calling for a boycott of the film. However, that cultural moment is past, and mocking the damsel in distress cliché is an outdated critique with little cultural weight. Both conservatives and progressives have criticized Disney for their attempts to grant their princesses more autonomy, which they argue are flimsy and unauthentic. However, it's also possible to argue that some of the unjustified ire directed at the actress is a result of a broader dissatisfaction with Disney's tendency to conform to particular ideologies, as South Park states. Please share your thoughts about South Park's jab at Snow White in the comments section below. If you believe that this was terrible enough for Disney, watch this following video to see what Brett Cooper has to say about her colleague Snow White.